It took me a non-stop commercial flight from Singapore to New York to beat Sonic Frontiers. My name is Jiggy, and I play games so you don't have to, or so that you can decide that you want to. Let's get into it. God, I fucking love this game. Sonic Frontiers, as I'm sure many of you know, is the latest and greatest outing for our Lord and Savior, the Blue Rat. The development cycle for this game started shortly after the dumpster fire that was Sonic Forces, and spoiler alert, I gotta say, Sonic Team, SEGA, all them boys, and women, did what they need to do this time around. The name of the game with Sonic Frontiers is Spectacle. Almost everything you do, the developers wanted you to know that they didn't come to play. I know. Personally, they came to my door and said, "You're gonna enjoy this game, and you will get goosebumps." It's not perfect by any means, don't get me wrong, but overall with the final product that we currently have, I'm one happy camper, ladies and gentlemen. So grab your s'mores and let's start with the nitty gritty, shall we? The general synopsis is that Sonic, Tails, Amy, and Knuckles, strangely enough, find themselves stranded on the Starfall Islands, and no one except Sonic is able to escape the new cyberspace area, because of course he can. So now our blue boy is tasked once again with saving his friends from the absolute peril and imprisonment in this foreign land where there are many a foe and few friendly faces. Kinda, we'll get into that. The goal is to recover the 7 Chaos Emeralds to hopefully serve as a means of freeing the homies. Barring the aforementioned furries, Eggman also makes an appearance, but he's not the focal point of the story at all. Up until nearly the end, where he becomes a MacGyver of sorts, he has very little impact on the main story, but there are some very interesting tidbits that he gives us that I'll go into more details in the full spoiler section. Up next, we have the new character Sage, which of course is another play on SEGA, the company name. She is an enigma, and it stays that way pretty much the entire game unless you do one thing with Big the Cat. Yes, he's in here too. To find out more about her before the exposition for her character is introduced towards the latter half of the game. Part of what I enjoy most about Sonic Frontiers is that the characters are having genuine conversations with each other about their surroundings and the current stasis that they found themselves in. There are jokes thrown in here and there, but they have a lead up, whether it's based on their already established relationships with one another or in regard to the current objective in place, a la helping them get free. These are placed not just for the sake of being funny per se, but to garner a chuckle from the player because we know these characters, we know the things that they've been through, and it's cool to have that callback every so often. Without it being cringe, of course. From Kronos to Ares to Chaos Island, each individual island offers somewhere new to explore and sink your red-coated shoes into at every turn. You may be wondering why I failed to mention the last 2 islands. Well, for that you'll have to stick around for the in-depth spoilers. Found all across the Starfall Islands are these rock things called Coco. Now, they are certainly no replacement for the big-headed child that many of us have come to love and adore, but I will say that they are better than the Wisp by Sonic the Hedgehog pet standards, quote-unquote. Plus, unlike the Wisp, these Coco offer permanent stat boosts for Sonic in the form of attack and defense boosts that you can get from the locatable Hermit Coco. Then you have the speed cap and ring cap increases from this nightmare-fueled individual called the Elder Coco. I ran into this dude when it was in the dead of night playing this game at like 2 AM, and he was in an area that had shadow overcast on Kronos Island. I swear to you, all I could see was his perpetually open mouth, and I thought I was tweaking. He's gang now though. The big baddies of the island are known as the Titans, and each of them are well executed cutscenes that also just so happens to be a boss fight, if you know what I mean. This isn't to detract from the actual fight itself. If anything, it's more of a compliment that I'm willing to find the best way to deal damage to a monster like this in order to get to those sweet cinematics. There are also guardians all around the island that pose a variety of challenges for Sonic and the player as well, and they get increasingly difficult to destroy as the game progresses, so make sure you're leveling up accordingly. Sonic Team took some liberties in this game with the combat system that they really haven't attempted ever since the Warhog stages in Sonic Unleashed. First off, the side loop has to be the most broken ability. I mean, it was placed in almost every promotion trailer since the first announcement back in May of 2021. And here's a pro tip. If it looks like you can side loop it. You'll save a lot of time and effort, just trust me on this. This move serves as a guard break and a oh shit, I need to re-up on the rings option for most enemies and situations found, because a lot of these things hit like trucks, even in the early game. I was genuinely surprised. The combos in this game are by no means as extensive as those found in the latter game Sonic Unleashed, however, there was an effort put in here to tackle the different enemy types in a number of ways, and at least you get the multi-hit moves like Sonic Boom and Cross Slash. My point though is that combat is fun, engaging, and even provides somewhat of a treat when you learn to chain together different skills to beat enemies efficiently. When it comes to the supersonic boss fights, most of these moves get a visual upgrade as well to fit the golden aesthetic of our favorite Super Hog, so that's a nice addition in my book. I think maybe with a bit more refinement, this style of fighting in Sonic games could become a staple of sorts should they choose to keep it. They very well may not. So, I haven't really talked about the cyberspace levels yet, and I don't have much to say other than the fact that A, the music for damn near all the stages sound fantastic, and B, while the control for them can be a bit wonky at times, don't worry, we'll get into that later, they are at best an inoffensive bite-sized portion of a much bigger game that has a lot more to offer, and at worst, a 1 to 3 minute obligation for when you need more Chaos Emerald Vault keys because you can't find them in abundance in the overworld. Speaking of the overworld, Sonic's control here feels great. He's fast, he's agile, he's stuck in a 2D section in a 3D environment? Barring some of the 2D sections, the overall handling of Sonic that is allotted to players is a step up from the unnecessarily tight controls of forces and offers a freedom unlike we've ever seen before. You can go just about anywhere should you have the skills to understand and utilize Sonic's speed, and many shortcuts can be improvised on the fly in all honesty. Do you guys remember Big? Yeah, you remember me mentioning him. Well, here he is, in all his big purple glory. The story reason for why he's here is strangely enough in the heavy spoiler category, so I can't go exactly into too much detail about that yet, but the most important thing about Big being here is that you can fish. Yes, you can fish, just like back in Sonic Adventure, but it's not as convoluted as in that game. You simply cast your lure, accept that you want to catch a fish, and then time your A or X button at the right interval. Simple and clean. Other than the Purple Man, you'll be completing mini games for your friends every so often to help progress the story. And unfortunately, I once again cannot go into too much detail about these, but they're cool. Sometimes annoying, but they're cool. Do we have the audio clips? Yeah? Play the audio clips!
Go beyond my limit, not to compromise. And you can tell me if I mean it, looking in my eyes. Cause I've been waiting for my moment to strike. So come close, let me show you what it's like. Yeah, you can try to stand in my path, but you're gonna regret it. I'll be the one who laughs while I'm making my exit.
The music in Sonic Frontiers is phenomenal, and I'm not talking about all of the main boss themes either. I noticed this during, I want to say, Kronos Island, but the closer you get to actually facing the Titan at the end of each respective island, the more serious the music gets, the more upbeat it gets. Take a listen to the difference. The fact that they sat there and really said, yeah, this'll get him, when the idea to implement a subtle change like that is mind-boggling to me. It's aspects like this that make me feel as though I've been working towards something and not just rushing through everything to get to the next objective. Enemies like the tower and all their variants have this droning effect attached to them to symbolize that they're really just glorified minions, and it's really a beautiful thing in such a strange way it's crazy. Every Guardian is recognizable by the sounds that accompany them alone, and in addition, I for one will be listening to the vocal tracks hailing from this game for such a long time. Hats off to everyone involved, really. So, I want to spend the spoiler section just really talking to you guys about how I felt about the overall story, and maybe bounce some ideas off your domes so we can talk about it in the comments. Cool? Cool. The Eggman memos from Fishing with Big, first and foremost, these have to be my favorite side content found within a Sonic game in such a long time. Yeah, I know, we'll sometimes get moments with Eggman in the games to understand him as an individual a bit more, but I think they really popped off with these little nuggets right here and how deep they go into Eggy as a person and his relationship with Sage. And also Sonic and his friends, to be a little bit more specific as well. I do have to say, I wish they were a little bit more explicit with why he cares for Sage so much, to the point that he'll refer to her as his daughter though. I know he mentioned Maria in one of them and a little bit of jealousy there, but that's pretty much the only contextual evidence I can find that kind of links to why he cares about Sage, but so on and so forth. Maybe in the future. The Chaos Emerald explanation that Sonic Team decided to give us leaves a bittersweet taste in my mouth, honestly. Magical rock from space, but the big main rock, aka the Master Emerald, originates from Earth? Unless I misunderstood this and missed a few beats, the story behind these things could have definitely used some more fleshing out. The Master Emerald may be something that they tackle in the near future, but then again, it may seem like they're reusing story beats, so what do you guys think? The best Titan cinematically? Wyvern. I don't know. The best Titan sonically? No pun intended. Knight. TBH, I was not sold on Knight, mainly because I was stupid and didn't realize I was getting skill checked in the phase where Knight was circling around the arena back and forth super fast. So I was so focused on trying to hit this man that I forgot to listen, ironically enough, but that's besides the point. I've come around to the song since then. Giganto, I still don't know how to pronounce the, anyway, that's besides the point. Giganto still has the best AMV music hands down. I'll die on this hill, hey. I'm curious what everyone thought the end was, like the actual end boss, how it's just titled The End. Do you guys think it was just a natural thing where every civilization has its downfall and then it showed up for the ancients and it was just their time? And real quick, that was actually something that we saw in Sonic and the Black Knight, where Sonic was explaining to Merlina like, hey, every story has its end. So I found that connection, maybe, it may be subtle, it may not, I may just be reaching for the stars here, no pun intended yet again. Or was it simply a hungry planet-consuming entity like Galactus from Marvel or something? I really want to know what everyone's thoughts were, so please feel free to let me know what you thought down in the comments. No game is without its flaws though, and this is the part of the video where a lot of my opinions will be subjective. Know that this section is by no means meant to undermine the creators, nor be a reason not to try out this game. The developers have worked hard for too long to not have their product experience, and that final decision is ultimately up to you. Let's begin. So this is Sonic Team's first hat back in the ring after 5 long years. I'm sure you've heard that plenty of times. And while they got many a thing right, they also got many a thing not necessarily wrong, but they could use some work in my opinion. To circle back, the cyberspace levels were, at least on surface level, an afterthought from a design perspective. From how stiffly Sonic controls to the usage of past level designs. The story reason for why the levels are the way that they are seems a bit contrived, and I can take that as an excuse for laziness, but in their defense, the original levels that we got towards the end of the game brought a smile to my face, especially the skateboarding level. I found that kind of fun. I think that should Sonic Team choose to bring back this style of gameplay, there needs to be 2 distinct handling styles for each of the types of levels. So you have the open zone gameplay, which controlled relatively well in my opinion, and then you need to have the more centric linear levels to play, hopefully like Sonic Generations. Hopefully I'm making sense here. Next up, I did not find too much of an issue with this, but the object pop-in during the open zone segments has rubbed some people the wrong way. I'm not a game dev, so I won't pretend to know how to fix it, but I'm sure you guys have the capability. You can handle it. What did bother me, however, is the fact that when you're fishing with Big, there's a constant flash emitting from the water, and that is a hazard for people who are more photosensitive. I'm sure it's already been reported, and hopefully that means there's a hotfix on the way, but one can only hope, you know? Speaking of fishing, why is my hedgehog melding with the water that's supposed to be in the background? My hand and rod should not be interacting with the water that is geographically beneath me. So, hello? Hopping over to the overworld, I found this glitch where I could effectively lock myself out of a 2D segment and I could complete it in 3D. It only happens in the specific spot of Chaos Island to my knowledge, but if there are any other areas like this, please share with the class. If I may add, on both Kronos and Ares Island, you are able to access virtually the entire map, minus the final boss area, right off the bat, right? So my question then becomes, why could I not do that for Chaos Island? This bridge needs to be lowered, and as any person who is decent at Sonic games, or video games in a nutshell, I try to use my speed as a means to make it happen. Why can I not make it across the bridge unless I trigger a story event all of a sudden? On the third island when I was able to do stuff like that before? Anyway, as far as difficulty and its relation to the story, 1, please don't make the hard mode not hard, Sonic Team. I'm sure myself and others know what we're getting ourselves into when selecting difficulties, and 2, y'all kinda dropped the ball with that last Titan fight. I feel like maybe it could have been left out, or maybe mid-fight the true final boss interrupted the fight. What I'm trying to say is, it didn't feel as cinematic as it could have been, especially compared to pretty much every other Titan on the previous 3 islands. Same for the true final boss, where it's just the Tails Galaga minigame, but a tad harder. So can we maybe fix that, possibly? But I love what you guys have here, truly. The foundation is incredibly solid, but the tiny cracks need to be addressed. And once that's taken care of, I'm sure the next mainline Sonic title is going to be the best game of the year. Also, can we get more spin-off titles since Frontiers is going to make you guys a boatload of money? Please, SEGA? Please? I want to thank you all for watching. I hope you enjoyed the show, and if you plan to or have already played Sonic Frontiers, be sure to tell me what you thought about it, and how long it took you to complete it down in the comments below. Can't wait to catch you all in the next one.